So we should probably talk about Pesach today. And what I would like to do is I want to discuss something very strange that takes place throughout the discussion with Paro and Moshe. There seems to be some very strange language. What exactly is the purpose of a lot of their dialogue, I think, is worthwhile analyzing. Sorry to tell you, I don't have another copy. I'll slide over. And hopefully with a little bit of analysis, we'll have a greater appreciation for what really is going on. Let's ask a few fundamental questions. Question number one is, why do we need 10 makos if God, who's not God, has an ability to take the Jewish people out of Egypt just like that? So much so that even during Makas Choshech, when it's so dark outside, why don't the Jews get up and leave? I mean, that's what I would do if I was in prison. I don't know if it was in the news today that there was some prison out in Quebec, and people realized the timing that there's a helicopter that hovers over the prison, and tried to jump on the helicopter and escape, and they got caught. Apparently the guy who was driving or operating a helicopter is a witness, not an accomplice. I don't really believe that, but whatever. I thought that was interesting. So, meaning, why don't they just leave, right? Like, why is it that instead they stay put? That's very strange. Also, what's very strange is we see that Makas Bechoros, or something about the Bechoros, already in the cards right in the beginning. Right? As from the dialogue that Moshe has by the Sineh, if you take a look in source 1, Pasuk Chav Beis, V'amarta Paro Kor Mar Hashem B'ni B'chari Yisrael V'amar Lacha Shalach Es B'ni V'yavderni V'atmeim L'Shalcho Hinei Nochi Horeg Afpincha B'chorecha. So it's this whole Bechor clash thing. So why do you need the first 9? Right? What's this? There's something else that's going on here. What's also very peculiar is that we call it the holiday of Pesach. Now, if I were to tell you, take a look at the entire Exodus narrative, highlight for me what is the most important part of the entire narrative, I'm not sure if I would say that the fact that God Pasach al B'tei B'nei Yisrael is necessarily the most important piece of the entire Exodus narrative. I'm not quite sure about that. So what is this whole Pesach? Why does it play central role? And it's about the Korban Pesach. Why is it so central? What is that really all about? And maybe one more question, which I don't think we're going to appreciate. All right, we'll do it now. When Bnei Yisrael get to Sukkot and they actually set up camp, told about the laws of Pesach, and it's a really important mitzvah, and they talk about, Pesach and it's going to be forever, and they talk about tefillin. In there is a very strange halacha, and the halacha is breaking the neck of a donkey. If you don't redeem the donkey, you break his neck. Like, why is the rule of breaking the neck of a donkey embedded in what will end up being placed inside tefillin? There's something very strange about that as well. I have to understand that a little bit better. Last but not least, what would be impressive to you? Would be impressed the mako? What about if I were to tell you I could do something tomorrow? Would that be impressive? What's more impressive? My ability to produce frogs, or to say that the frogs are going to stop tomorrow? So I think most people would say, man, I don't know, to me, lots of frogs are pretty neat. But that's not what's going to impress Paro. Let's take a look. Let's start with that idea. Take a look at I'm going to show you an example. Hang on, I'm just going to find the right pasuk. Here it is. Go to source 8. Vayikra Paro l'Moshe l'Aaron v'yomer hatiru l'Hashem v'yasser asvardim imeni u'me'ami. So Paro turns to Moshe and says, Moshe, man, and Aaron, sorry, daven to God or turn to God, get rid of these frogs. I can't handle these frogs. They drive me crazy. From me, from my nation. I'll send you, you go serve God. If you are Moshe the Pharaoh, he's paralai. Moshe turns to Paro. Moshe turns to Paro and says, okay, you're in awe of all this, you're turning towards me, you're in awe of all this. When will I have the frogs stop in your nation and in your people, and to have them remain only in the Nile? Machar. What? Paro is saying, I don't want these frogs. Moshe says, when do you want them to stop? Paro says, what? I don't understand. You can't handle the plague of frogs. They are driving a ribbit, and all these green frogs everywhere. And what do you say? Stop them tomorrow. That's very odd. We'll end the continue the pasuk. V'yomer kidvarcha. What you said, I will do. Leman teda ki ein kashem Elokeinu. Wait a second. What will help people understand God is that He'll remove the frogs tomorrow? Don't you think that the plague itself should produce Yedias Hashem? Why is it that the fact that Moshe, God, will stop the frogs tomorrow will demonstrate Leman teda ki ein kashem Elokeinu? Everybody understand that question? That's a pretty serious question. And this happens over, I could have brought you more psukim. It happens over and over again. Not now, later. Do it. It's very strange. For example, look at source 9. This is the plague of Dever. He flashem ben miknei Yisrael from Mitzrayim, v'lo yamus mikol bnei Yisrael daver, v'yasem Hashem moed lemor, machar yaseh Hashem hadavar hazeh baretz, v'yasem hadavar hazeh mimocharas, v'yamos kol miknei Mitzrayim miknei bnei Yisrael lo meis echad. And what impresses Paro? Not the magnitude of Dever, but rather lo meis miknei Yisrael echad. That's what impresses Paro. Why is it that what impresses Paro is that no Jewish cattle died? What about the fact that there's this crazy plague and that his cattle died? That's not impressive. What's impressive to Paro is that no Jewish cattle died. Why is that so impressive? Okay. There's something else which I haven't fully developed yet, so I don't want to deal with it. I was thinking of dealing with it. I'm not quite there yet. I'll just throw it out there and I'll move on. What's the difference between V'yachazek Hashem Elev Paro and V'yichbad Hashem Elev Paro? So one theory that I think is right, and I haven't planned this properly, made my project for over Pesach, so I can do it next year. Chizuk Halev, when someone says V'chazek Hashem Elev Paro, that is used in a very positive context. And you know where? By Yeshua, right? By Yeshua, Chazak V'yamatz. So it appears that Chizuk Halev, if it's translated into English, what is God telling Yeshua? Chazak V'yamatz.
Be strong and resolute.
Okay, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean, be strong? I think it's like courage, no? It's like, be courageous. Be encouraged. You can do it. You can replace Moshe. You can fight the war. Chazak V'yamatz. Courage, right? So, what it appears that God needs to give Paro courage. Why does God need to give Paro courage? Because he has a stubborn heart. So if you're stubborn, to counterbalance that, you need courage. There's a whole play here about being stubborn and courage. Maybe God needs to give Paro courage in order to have free will, to withstand his. Okay, I just want to. I got to think with that a little bit. I don't know. Let me know what you think. So again, this whole notion of timing seems to be very powerful to Paro. This whole ability to have distinction between Miknei Yisrael and between Paro seems to be very powerful. Here, I'll show you again. Go to 14. Look what else is powerful. Source for din, this is the Arov. V'fleisi vayom mahu asher goshen asher mi omer alahav v'tiyo sham arov leman tida ki ani Hashem b'kerev haaretz v'savdi fedus ben aviv ben Yisrael lemachar yehaos hazeh. So again, we see here that we're talking about this like tomorrow this is going to happen. Like, I don't understand, like, why can't this happen today? There's this time thing that's very fixated on. And I'm going to point out something which many of you are familiar with, because you all learned when you were very young. What time did Paro meet Moshe wearing pajamas? What time was it at? What time was it at? No. Middle of the night. Chatzos Laila. Right now, what word does Moshe use to Paro? Kachatzos Laila. What are we all taught when we were kids? Why Kachatzos? Why doesn't it say Chatzos Laila? Why Kachatzos? The Gemara in Brachos says, but he for sure knows this. Why? Rashi, because just in case. No. Okay, imagine I tell you this. Ladies, at 1 a.m., I'm going to levitate to the sky. I'm going to juggle. I'm going to take the sun and the stars, have them do a little dance at 1 a.m. And I do that at 1:01 a.m. Does that have minimize any type of greatness of mine, of my splendor? Who cares if it happens at Chatzos or Gachatzos? The fact that Moshe says the Bechors are going to die, isn't that in and of itself powerful? No. Say Chatzos, the Gemara says, just in case the astronomers say, 12:01, God's not powerful. That's absurd. Something is going on here about time. And we all know that time is very important, because what is the first national mitzvah that God gives Bnei Israel? Rosh Chodesh, time. So we see that time is so fundamental in the entire Exodus story. Finally, another important question we have to ask is, there's a big difference between the first 9 Makos and the 10th Makkah. For the first 9 Makos, what is the average Hebrew, the average Israelite? What is their role in the first 9 Makos? Answer? Zilch. We don't even know what they're doing or saying. We just know that they're not having this, so they're not. What do they do? We have no idea. All of a sudden, in between the 9th and the 10th Makkah, Moshe places demand on the Jewish people. And what is his demand? We all know what the demand is. Source 17. Dabru b'kol adas b'nei Yisrael lemor besor lachodesh hazeh. The 10th day. When's the 10th day this year? Is it Thursday? When's the 10th day this year? Today's the 7th, right? Because the 14th is next Monday. So when 3 days from now? 3 days from now is Thursday. Thursday is the 10th. Thursday is the 10th. Okay. Lahem ish se leveis avos se labais. All of a sudden, what are we told to do? We need to take a shabsala. We need to take a sheep per household. And what do? First of all, we can't finish a whole seh. We're going to finish a seh? I got 4 little kids. They waste everything. Right? So what are you supposed to do? You go to your neighbors and say, neighbor. This is actually very useful. You know what I use my neighbors a lot for? Garbage day. We know there's a limit to how much garbage you can put out. Right? I don't go as far down as the Morrises. That's 2 houses down. That's too far. I won't do that. Right? But what happens is that I have a neighbor on my left. They got a couple little kids. They don't put any garbage. My neighbor on the right, they have 1 kid who's not always around, and they have no garbage. So they said to me, if you have extra garbage, which I always do, please give us your garbage. So Thursday morning, I see how much they put out, and I add to it. I go across the street. I usually dispense my garbage around. I don't know if you noticed at all. Right? But I got so much garbage that I don't have to do with it. So it's the same idea. If you have 1 sheep, how is 1 family supposed to consume the sheep? You go to the neighbors and say, neighbors, we'll all pitch in together. By the way, this is actually a fascinating idea. You know why this is fascinating? Imagine you get a knock at the door at 1 o'clock in the morning. Can we join you for Pesach? What do you have to say to that person? you can't come. Because you can't eat the Korban Pesach. You were not you didn't pre-register. That's not good for Jewish events because nobody registers, right? If you don't pre-register for the Korban Pesach, you cannot participate. It is very counterintuitive because we like to help the Jewish people, and we have to say you cannot join us for Pesach if you don't register. Why that is, I believe, is a fascinating concept halachically, right?
But we do like halach ma'anya.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. If we have time, I'll get there too. That's my Wednesday's discussion. Right. Okay. Good. Halach ma'anya is my Wednesday's discussion without halach ma'anya. Okay, I can. If you get to it now, if you have time, I can add it in too. But each tefillah dechosu alaseh. So how many are we in this room? Right? The 10, whatever number we are, right? Okay, we can finish this set together, but we're a number of different families joining together. Set tamim zachar ben shana. Excuse me. Yalachem midek vasim rezim tikachim. Mishmeres adar basar. It has to hang around for 4 days. V'shachat. I guess it's very. If you don't have to clean for Pesach, you can have a set hanging around your house, right? Imagine nowadays. In addition to what we need to do to have a set, v'shachatu oso kol kahal adas yisra ben arbaim. There's a major halachic concept which is learned out from this phrase that's found in all of Shas. So the question everyone asks is, what do you mean v'shachatu oso kol adas yisra? What did we just say in the previous line? Does every single member of the Jewish community actually shech the set? What's the answer? No! It's one per household or one per few people. What does the Gemara learn from here? Shlichus. This is where, if you appoint someone to Shaliach, it's as if you're doing it yourself. This is the source by Korban Pesach. This is where it's learned from throughout gazillion places in Halacha. Va'achlu, you can only appoint a Shaliach. I can't appoint a Shaliach to make a bracha for me. Meaning, I can listen to some make a bracha, right? But if I have to, I can't have a shliach to eat matzah for me, right? Certain things you can't force shliach to do. It has to be, it's called chos gavra. If my body needs to do something, I can't have a shliach put tefillin on for me. If a person's body needs to do something, so they need to do it, right? You can't shake a lulav for me. Yeah, you have to. Okay, so we're going to keep shlichus, or an action has to be done to something else that I don't need to do, so I can do it for me. We eat that meat, barbecued with bitter herbs. Can't eat it raw, can't eat it cooked. It has to be roasted with a barbecue in its entirety. Okay. All of a sudden, Bnei Yisrael, you have to do something. How come Bnei Yisrael have to do something? They have to do anything the first 9 makos. And what do they do with the blood, which I didn't... Oh, no, I did. I should have said that pasuk. Did I say the pasuk? They actually take the blood and put it in the doorpost. Now that's also very peculiar. Well, God doesn't know where Jews live. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? Every other makkah, what do we see? Not every makkah. Every makkah that actually mentions in Chumash, there's a difference between the Jew and the non-Jew. Let's say by Dever, it doesn't say that the Jewish cattle, they put a mezuzah on them, or they, I don't know, they how come when it comes to Dever, God knows what He's doing and knows how the Jewish cattle will live? When it comes to Makas Bachoros, God doesn't know. He forgets he's Jewish. And it's absurd. What's going on here? Okay, so then we should probably answer some questions before it's too late. So here we go. Let's begin. But we know there's a number of different purposes for the Makos. At the Sineh already we are told that part of the main reasons why we need to do this, to accomplish, is to ensure it's an education for Paro. If you take a look, oh, here it is. I don't know why I made that supposed to be small. Pasuk Yotes, source number, pre-source. Va'ani adati ki lo yiten eschem melech Mitzrayim lahaloch v'lo biyad chazaka. He will not let you leave. So we see here that Bnei Israel can only leave if they have the permission of Paro. They cannot escape. Now, why do you think a prerequisite for Yetzias Mitzrayim is that you cannot escape? Why can't they escape? Why can't they just walk out in the middle of Makas Choshech? It appears that in order, What's the difference theologically if Bnei Yisrael escape Mitzrayim or if Paro lets them leave? What's the theological difference?
Well, it's him consenting to it. It's Paro realizing.
Okay, very good. There has to be realization. Paro has to say, I'm wrong. I said I'm not going to let you leave. Mi Hashem asher shlach. Mi Hashem asher shema b'kolo. Who is this God that I'm going to listen to him? That's how he starts off the conversation. By the end, he says, Etzba Elokim. And what does he say? Then it's, what? Yad. By the end, Paro has recognition of God. That is a very powerful, educational, theological purpose of the Makos. It is not just so God shows how powerful he is. He needs to educate Paro. Bnei Yisrael cannot leave. Of course, they could leave whenever they wanted. God could have put everyone to sleep. They could have walked out. But that would not have accomplished what it accomplished. And there's so many different reasons that are given. The 10 Makos and creations of the world's creating the world, and the 10 Makos, and, right? Because fundamentally, Paro does not recognize God as the creator of the universe. As it says in Yechezkel, Li hayor v'ani asisani. I made the Nile, says Paro. Question?
What about the rest of the meeting? Did it matter if they?
That's a very good question.
Or did he even know?
Yeah, it appears not irrelevant. I mean, it says, "V'yidu Mitzrayim k'ani Hashem." You know, there has to be some.
If Paro realized it,
then Joe Shmo does. Yeah. There's no question the Mitzvah are much lower level. We're not so interested in. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, is the fact that the Mitzvah give their jewelry to the Jewish people, is that some recognition of God? I think it could be, right? It could be. That's what they're giving. That's the idea, perhaps, behind why they give their jewelry, is because they recognize there's some. You usually don't give presents to people.
Maybe they.
But yeah.
I mean, like most of them are going to die, so Paro's not going to die just yet.
Wait, who's going to die?
When like a lot of them are to die in Yom Tov.
Wait, okay, they didn't know about Yom Tov, right? No one knew it was going to happen. No one knew that. I don't think the soldiers, brought their bathing suits with them. They were, I'm not quite sure. They knew that.
Right, so like that.
Paro's recognition is more meaningful because he's around longer.
Right, the longer you keep him around, the more you can recognize. The Midrash goes into this, right? So does the, one of the movies do. They have a picture of him, right? Is there some movie they have a picture of him seen by Yom Tov? Maybe made that up, I don't even know. The Midrash points out the Midrash said they wanted to keep Paro alive. He was a Bechor, he didn't die, but keep him alive, this way he could witness. It's not a matter of God's power. We'll see that in a second. But what impresses, and this is something else, what impresses Paro is actually not God's power. Why is it more impressive? The timing and the distinction. Why does that get Paro's attention? Not the might of the Arba, but the distinctiveness of the Arba. That it goes here and not there. It's tomorrow, not today. Why is that powerful for Paro?
A lot of the things could have been replicated.
Right.
But Kishuf, you can't really necessarily control what you created.
You have no right. You create something that just does it on its own. You kind of lose that ability to control it.
Right. And when you can control it and say and give specific times, this is going to happen now.
Okay. And what does that demonstrate?
That it's not Kishuf. This is from.
Okay, so that is true. But again, if I say that Arba is going to come tomorrow and it comes, that's so pretty powerful. And we know, by the way, we're already in the fifth Makkah, the Chazim can't replicate anything.
Right.
Sorry, the third Makkah by Kinim, right? Oh no, by Denver they can't replicate it. So already there was a point where they couldn't replicate it anymore. So they couldn't say that it's Kishuf because they already got,
But they could say that it's nature. They could still explain it by science.
And you're saying the fact that it stops at the border shows, why stop at the border, right? Why not go that extra 6 inches? Okay. So I think that for sure that's all true, but I think there's another purpose of the Makos, a dual purpose. It's not just to show God's power, but it's also to show God's love. Meaning, if you create, we know scientifically, the entity that creates the world also creates time. Time does not exist when the world doesn't exist. Time is created with creation. So God, who created the world, also creates time. And therefore, if God can control time, what's he showing Paro? I'm the creator of the world. But now listen to this. It's not just that I'm interested in just showing power, but I'm also interested in showing restraint to the people that I have a relationship with. So the fact, and I think you're all right, the fact that I can stop the arba here controls time. I'm the creator God. But it's also showing that there's a certain people that I love, I have a relationship with, and I don't want them to get hurt or injured or suffer. And so it's stopping at their door. Right? It shows that God has a relationship. So then you're going to say, well, wait a second. Why does that change by Makas Bacharos? So a few different answers. Answer number one that everyone likes to give, which is for sure true, is you cannot be redeemed from Egypt. Can't be a free ride. Redemption can't be a free ride. You have to do something. You haven't done much up until now. What does the Chazal say? The 49th level of Tumah, Bnei Yisrael would not have been redeemed. Chamushim Yatsu Bnei Yisrael Mitzrayim, 80% of the Jews stayed behind. But I have no idea what the time is. I left my phone next. What time is it? Right? It's a good thing no one else knows. I guess that's a good sign. 12. Okay, good. I got that. Also, the clock out there died, so I'm looking at a clock that says 10 to 1. It's not moving, so it's not helping me. So all of these things that show that we want to be redeemed. In order for the Gula to happen, Bnei Yisrael have to do something. And that's the Korban Pesach. Why the Korban Pesach? There's a whole conversation there. But now what has to happen is, yes, God knows exactly. It's silly. God knows who's Jewish. God knows who's not Jewish. But if you want to enter into any relationship, you actually have to be active. Passive relationships do not exist. Every type of relationship has to show some type of participation. The participants have to participate. Can never be a one-way street. And so, that, I believe, is what the Korban Pesach is demonstrating. Now, what about this whole Bechor? Why is Bechor such a central role? So, anybody here firstborn in their family? No way. No one here is firstborn? No. Uh-oh. I'm not firstborn either, so... Okay. This might be very personal then. Those of you that have... what is the role that the firstborn has in your family? Either male or female. Doesn't necessarily make a difference. Now, you might be like, well, they don't do anything. I do way more than they do. They're useless. Okay, that could be. You have to go back 5 years of your life, right, when they were home. I'm sure some of your older students moved out of the house already, right? So you have to go back 5 years, 7 years to see what was their role when they were at home, right? And if it was like some irresponsible male, so then that probably not going to work so well either. But generally speaking, the Bechor often plays a role being another parent, especially the responsible, right? I'll give you an example. I can only speak with my household. I have a son. He's he's 12 and a half years old, making a bar mitzvah this summer, and which is, I cannot say 12 and a half anymore because the summer is way closer than 6 months, and it's a psychological thing to say that for a while to figure out what I need to do, or what my wife needs to do. Partially, he kind of knows already. So, but the Bechor is often given tasks to help out with the family, and we don't pay him. We give him, $5 here and there. The responsibility of a firstborn helps the parents with the family. Why? Parents are old. They can't relate to kids anymore. They're older. So the firstborn can help often bridge that gap. There's a reason why halachically a person's first fruits, which are called the bikurim, which comes from the word bechor, why are those the ones that are given to the mikdash? The Kohen, who's just a representative of God, right? God can't give things to God. He gives things to the Kohen. The Kohen is God's rep. Why do you do that? Again, by showing that you're giving your first fruits. It's like you're giving Shmuel to the mikdash, right? It's like you're giving your first, can be the best, or you have the most pride and joy in. We were going through pictures over Shabbos, my wife and I. Now, my oldest son was born before the digital age, meaning like no one had we didn't have your ability to take good pictures on the phone. You couldn't take pictures on the phone. There's no way to take pictures on the phone, right? 12 and a half years ago. I don't think I even had a cell phone 12 and a half years ago. I remember once I was offered a plan, unlimited minutes from Fido for $40. I said, who's ever going to need unlimited minutes? This is probably about 10 years ago. And now who doesn't need unlimited minutes? That's the one I asked. We don't have, I have unlimited minutes. I need unlimited minutes. So the whole idea of, a bechor is very simple. I remember what I was trying to say. We have tons of pictures of my oldest son, and as the children progress, fewer and fewer pictures. Now, it's also because of the digital age, where you can snap your picture, you take a camera, take a gives in pictures, you just don't develop them. I'm sure you all suffer from that. You're the younger end stage in your family, no?
No, the third.
You're the third.
It wasn't the digital age, and it wasn't.
He has no picture. So there you go, right? And it's the way it goes. It's just kind of what happens, unfortunately. It's not because your parents love you less. It's just so there's something about the bechor, right? I remember clearly, although my kids were born, there's something about the bechor that you remember. He's like the oldest, also the oldest grandchild. Something special about it. But so when we say here that God says, "B'ni bechori Yisrael," the Jewish people are my bechor, is what God tells Moshe by this net. And therefore God will murder I should say is the right word to use, the bechor of the Egyptians. What is that saying? The Jewish people, we are the bechor of God. We have this responsibility. God loves all his children, but there's something special about the bechor. You have responsibilities, we give them more tasks, right? They don't always live up to it. Jewish people don't always live up to it. That's the way it goes. But the Tanakh is about how the Jewish people maybe don't live up to it enough. Especially the nu and the kil part of Tanakh. Right? Probably for sure the nu part of Tanakh. Right? But that's just the relation that a person has with Bechor. If that's true, and now you understand, in order for the Jewish people to be a Bechor, they actually have to do something. Meaning, have a bechor who gets a free ride is useless. They have to show they're willing to take responsibility. And that's why specifically before the Makkah of God killing the bechor of the Egyptians, the bechor of the Jews, i.e. the entire Klal Yisrael, B'ni Bechor Yisrael, they have to do something active. Now why, when they get to the end in a Sukkosa, when they camp out and they've left Mitzrayim, Kadesh li kol bechor peter kol rechem b'vnei Yisrael b'dam b'himal lihu. Source number 18. Why is it that is the mitzvah that's taught? So in Tefillin, you should know the 4 parashos of Tefillin. The first is Shema, then Vayayim Shemoah, right? Those are in Devarim. And then you have Vayaki Vicha, then you have Kadesh li kol bechor. Or Kadesh li kol bechor, then Vayaki Vicha. Sorry. And those are source 18. Why is it that specifically the morning, or the afternoon after the Makas Bechoros on the 15th, right? So Tuesday next week, next Tuesday, in the afternoon, Kadesh li kol bechor. Why is that? Because who is Kadesh li kol bechor? It's like a neat language. It's not just the firstborn, but if it's B'ni Bechor Yisrael, then it's Kadesh li kol bechor. There's God, just like God extracted and took out B'nei Yisrael because they are the bechor, so too, we are going to have to do something special with our bechor as well. And what's that's called? It's called the right Pidyon we call today, Pidyon Ben. And Moshe says, remember Zechor Sayom Hazeh Shir Shatem Mitzrayim Beis Avadim Ki Bechol Zeg Yarot Yashem Samizeh Lo Yachel Chametz. Going out in the month of spring. Okay, there's lots to talk about here which we're not going to. God says eventually we get to the promised land, Vaki Vicha, and we learn this very strange halacha of Peter rechem, and if you have a peter chamor, tifteh v'seh. If you not tifteh, v'arafta. Why? So I think we see something very important. Specifically this notion of Bechor Banai and Bechor of the animals. They are going to have a special, unique status to it, and specifically the mitzvah of tefillin. Why? Because it's not just enough of Shema v'yem Shemoah. It's not just enough to have this theological relationship with God, but it has to be brought into action. What is the object that signifies that action? Tefillin. What are tefillin? Tefillin sheberosh and tefillin shebeyad. A person's mind and a person's actions have to be united. And that is why we are the Bechor. Why does Bechor have to be in tefillin? Because it shows that's our responsibility. That's what we need to do. It shows that it's not just enough to be chosen. We actually have the responsibility to do something about it. So that's the love of God. So I think, just to summarize what we've seen here, is the whole notion of timing and the whole notion of distinguishing is all about the love that God has with the Jewish people and the relationship that He's trying to forge with His nation, who are referred to as Bechorim, who are referred to as the firstborn. Firstborn have greater responsibility. They're almost like another parent, much to your chagrin, perhaps sometimes. With the older sibling. Sometimes older sibling abuses their power in the family. That's also part of it. And by the way, that could be why, since the older sibling abuses their power, why the Jewish people have so many mitzvahs, right? To keep us more in check. So we don't abuse our power. Just to throw that out there. I think that is what's going on in the whole Yetzias Mitzrayim narrative. That sometimes it's in the background, but it really should not be in the background. It should be in the foreground of what we are recognizing of this time of year. And our responsibility, the action that we have to do. We see why time is so crucial, is so important. Because timing really shows that you care, you're concerned, and that God is the creator of the world. With the world comes time, and with creating also shows love and shows caring and distinction and appreciation. And that's a relationship that we begin to have with Rish Baruch Hu during the time of Pesach, because Pesach, of course, is the beginning of that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu.